Champions League reaction with Roni and the gunning truth. And the truth is that Arsenal are through to the next stage of the Champions League. We don't need to worry about Champions League football till February, when we'll probably get the toughest possible team. And fantastic display from Arsenal. 6-0 victory over RC Lens after a tricky away trip playing them. And they were the first team to defeat us this season before Newcastle got that honour when they obviously had to find other means to make sure that that game went in their favour. But yeah, Arsenal was superb from the start. The first 7 minutes or so, both teams sussed each other out. And it seemed like it was going to be a bit of a cagey affair. But then Arsenal started to get the passes going. Declan Rice was again superb in the sixth role. That's something that immediately struck when the game started being a little bit tight right at the beginning. No real chances for Lens. Obviously, Arsenal switched off a little bit at times when they tried to maybe do difficult passes, the eye of the needle passes, and that allowed the ball to be turned over. And then obviously you are running back and it becomes a little bit tricky. But I thought we were absolutely superb in everything that we did today. There's some key things that is important, and that's for Arsenal to be aggressive and for Arsenal to start fast in football games, and then it's a completely different thing. And we've got some tough Premier League games coming up. We've got a run of a couple of winnable games now with Wolves next on Saturday, and then on Tuesday evening against Luton. And then we've got 3 very tricky games. You won't win the league now, but you can definitely put yourself in a difficult position, especially with Aston Villa away, Brighton at home, and Liverpool away from home as well, coming towards Christmas time. So it was key for Arsenal to get the victory. Just early on in our group, we had Sevilla at home to PSV Eindhoven, and Sevilla actually were leading 2-0 for quite a large portion of the game. So in that case, it would have meant that Arsenal were already through, guaranteed to go through without kicking a ball, and then obviously would have needed one more point against Lens to win the group. However, in that instance, Sevilla got a red card and they conceded 3 goals in the last 15 minutes or so to lose. However, I don't think there was anything in relation to that game that affected our performance against Lens. We were clinical, and I just like the aggressive nature of our play. Obviously, Lens obviously did the norm where they were kicking our wide players all over the pitch, and it just seems like that's the only way that these teams. But the nice thing about Arsenal over the last 2 years is that doesn't matter. We are able to, keep playing on the front foot, and it was quite prevalent in the second goal, Jesus' goal, where Saka just ran through all these players, and obviously Arsenal were able to get that goal. But our first goal was Kai Havertz, of course, and he had a very good game, I felt. When I see him play, and I try to watch him quite closely, uh, in some games you obviously want to focus on the entire play of the team, but I watched him really closely in this game, and it's true what Arteta says, he's a very smart player. However, in some instances, you can see that he's still trying to adapt to the left 8 role. So it's not just about adapting to Arsenal and Arteta and coming from a difficult period at Chelsea and a different role. It's also about there's quite a lot that's demanded in that left 8 role when it comes to Arsenal, because you've got the situation now where you've got Martinelli and Zinchenko and sometimes Tomiyasu on that side of the field. So you have a key role to play, especially when you need to defend. I know Declan Rice is fantastic when he plays the 6 and the 8, and when he plays the 6, he covers so much ground and he's very smart in his positional play. So technically, when you've got the likes of Zinchenko, you've got Rice in the 6, and you've got Martinelli, you should actually be doing well. However, it's a very demanding role for Arteta. There was a lot of talks of Xhaka having to lose a certain amount of weight, and he had to be able to run even more than he already has as a midfielder to be able to get that role right. We've seen Smith Rowe, Vieira all struggle. I think the best performance was Vieira, probably against Everton. And it wasn't a great performance. It's just that he was very good on the ball. So if you look at the left 8 role, you've had Trossard there as well, and they've all not really been able to put their foot or take a foothold in that position. So hopefully our Havertz continues to grow in that role. Obviously, 2 goals in two, a very important goal against Brentford in a game where Arsenal struggled to create. And we obviously found another way. And then, obviously, in this game, he started off really well and had a very good game throughout the game. So that's the first goal, Kai Havertz scoring. I think it was a Jesus assist, and then obviously Bukayo Saka, basically five defenders, a combination of holding midfielders, wide fullbacks, and defenders trying to hack him down, and he was able to remain strong, get the ball to Jesus. Jesus doing the shimmy thing again, and obviously letting the defender try. And I think he's done it like in a previous Champions League game and in the Man United game where we scored the third goal, and the defender is just left wanting, and then obviously creates that space, and then a very good finish. I don't know where, it's probably a loss in translation, but there was a quote that came out where he says his goal scoring isn't really his strongest point. However, I still believe that that is taken out of context. There was quite a few occasions where he scored 4 goals and he scored hat-tricks for Man City and lots of braces. So he hasn't got a great goal scoring record, and he's got a bit of an injury issue as well that flares up now and then quite a few times at City, and then he's obviously had the knee problem with us, and then the accompanying issues such as hamstring problems and other muscular issues that stems from that knee issue. However, you've seen him in all the Champions League games that he's played. I think he only missed the Sevilla home game. So he's played 4 games and he's scored 4 goals, and he's been man of the match in 2 of them. So he's been superb in Champions League football for us. 1 league goal only, but 4 Champions League goals. That's 5 league goals for him. And, 5 goals across the season. And then the third goal, Bukayo Saka scoring a fantastic assist. Obviously not meant. It was Tommy Yasso just basically in a 50-50 situation, hacking the ball up the field. However, it ended up being a brilliant ball for Martinelli. And then obviously the keeper parried the ball onto the chest, or was the midriff of Saka, and Arsenal are 3-0 up within 30 minutes. And then obviously Martinelli also scored within 30 minutes. So 4-0 to the Arsenal. A very good goal from Martinelli as well. Again, using his speed. At times, when he uses his speed, you can just see that it doesn't always work out, because it's obviously difficult to maintain your control when you are running at that pace. However, it just shows you once again that if you have pace, it causes all sorts of problems. If you've got the speed from your wide players, obviously Saka is more tricky. He has a good burst of speed, or pace, I should say. Martinelli's quite quick as well. So those things are key advantages from your wide players, and they need to be tricky as well and be able to dribble. And that's our front three. They dribble quite well. We actually had very good dribble stats last season, more so than this season. But again, that's the change of style from Arteta. So that was 4-0, and then obviously just after the 45 minutes were gone, obviously there was a couple of minutes added on, and then obviously Odegaard also scored another Tommy Yasso assist, so 2 assists from Tommy Yasso. So there we go. I think that was absolutely superb first half from Arsenal. I couldn't really fault anything. The tempo was good. We were aggressive. We were able to stifle Lens, especially when we were trying to do those very difficult passes. So Arsenal lost the ball, and a transition took place when we were trying to do really, really crazy passes. Obviously, if it worked, then we would have scored more goals. So that was basically where Lens had the opportunities. Nothing was really dangerous. I think there was in the second half where they hit the post, and then obviously there was an offside occasion. It might have been the first half, but I know they hit the post, and that was also from a transition period where Arsenal are trying to put these eye through the needle passes, or the needle through the eye, or eye through the needle, one of the two. So 5-0 at halftime for Arsenal. Obviously, the game was sewn up. Arsenal obviously guaranteed to finish top of the group. It's going to be interesting to see. Maybe while I still talk, I can have a look at who we can actually still get in the Champions League. But yeah, like I say, there wasn't any issues when it comes to Arsenal's display. I thought we were absolutely exceptional. In the second half, we were able to control things. We were able to bring players off. It's quite interesting to see. And obviously, with our defensive line being a little bit short, if you think about it, we obviously lost Tierney and Timber with regards to defensive positions. Kivior came on in the second half. And Zinchenko and Tommy Yasso, they generally have injury issues. Obviously, Saliba, Gabriel, they tend to play all the time. Ben White has had a knock now recently, so we are a little bit short in defense. We don't want a situation where Declan Rice has to end up playing in defense. But yeah, we've got White, Saliba, Kivior, Gabriel to cover those positions, and then obviously Tomiyasu and Zinchenko. Tomiyasu can play left and right. So that's key for us. So it's going to be interesting to see if we're going to go into the market. But quite interesting to see that Arteta took both the fullbacks and they were both good. Tomiyasu was exceptional in the first half. So they were the first guys to be substituted. And then obviously the likes of Jesus, Saka, and Rice all got substituted as well in the second half. So very smart way and learning that if you are winning comfortably, you can actually take the players off, and hopefully the players that comes on are hungry. You could see that Nelson hungry, but he hasn't played in a while, so it didn't quite work out for him. But his footwork is really, really good. It's just that he comes on in difficult times, back end of the games, so it's difficult for him to have a huge impact, but still he does. So he looks good as well when he does come on, and hopefully he gets to play in Eindhoven against PSV. Jorginho looked good again. Very, very happy with Jorginho. I know well, I don't think we're missing Thomas Partey at the moment, as the results shows, but it's obviously a key player. And then obviously the likes of Smith Rowe and Vieira, who are midfield players. El Neni doesn't get much game time. So despite injuries, El Neni doesn't get to play. Cedric doesn't get to play. So despite us saying that we are maybe short in midfield, we aren't really. It's more to do with the quality and the type of players that we want to play. But we're not really short from a squad standpoint. If, for example, the likes of Cedric goes, or you maybe loan out the likes of Smith Rowe or Vieira and get someone in that sense. But yeah, I think we are looking really good. Obviously, Jorginho getting a penalty at the end for Arsenal to win 6-0. So I just wanted to quickly have a look at what the status is of all these groups. So obviously, the Mancunians of Manchester Red messing up yesterday. I've got a smile on my face when it comes to that. Yeah, they have a poor record actually in Istanbul. So despite being 3-1 up, they ended up drawing 3-3. So the reason why I'm mentioning them is obviously we can possibly get the likes of Copenhagen or Galatasaray in the next round. Bayern Munich has already won that group. Arsenal already winning Group B. And then in Group C, Real Madrid has already qualified first, so we could get Napoli. So we can get Napoli, we can get Copenhagen or Galatasaray. With regards to Group A, if Man United beat Bayern Munich, which is highly unlikely, but they are at home, and Bayern Munich might make some changes, and Galatasaray and Copenhagen draw, then Man United can go through with 7 points. However, I personally think it will be Copenhagen or Galatasaray to finish second. Napoli has finished second in Group C. Sociedad go to Inter in order for that group to be decided, so we could play Inter or Sociedad in the next round. Group E, Atletico Madrid and Lazio, they are playing it out for first and second. I'm not entirely sure if they're playing each other. I think it could be Atletico hosting Lazio. So once again, two teams playing against each other for first, second. So Atletico Madrid or Lazio, Arsenal could face those teams. And then the difficult Group F, PSG currently second, Dortmund currently first. They're playing each other. Yes, they are. And they're playing in Dortmund, so maybe that might be a draw, and then it means that PSG will finish second. So we could get the likes of PSG, Napoli, Atletico Madrid. They can all still finish second. Leipzig definitely will be finishing second, so we're definitely getting them. And then I think because Barcelona beat Porto home and away, Barcelona is guaranteed to finish top. So Porto can finish second. Shakhtar Donetsk are in third place, also on 9 points, so we could face them as well in a difficult February trip to, it will be probably Poland, because obviously the war in Ukraine. So there are some really difficult teams that we could face. In my opinion, the big boys to avoid are teams that's all finished first. PSG hasn't played well. I know they've got a good squad, but there's no more. I know Mbappe is there, but there's no more Neymar and Messi. And even when they were there, they were never really able to combine. It was more moments type of a thing. So in terms of teams that's finishing top, the teams to avoid for Arsenal would be the likes of Real Madrid, Man City, and Bayern Munich. Those are all teams we could get in the quarterfinals and get knocked out, or we could surprise and knock one of those teams out. But yeah, I think Arsenal are really looking good. I don't say that we're going to win the Champions League, but I do feel that we are the fourth strongest team after Real Madrid, Man City, and Bayern Munich. I think one of those three teams might win it this year. If anybody else wins it, I'll be very surprised. Well, hopefully Arsenal does. So that's Arsenal's status when it comes to the Champions League. A fantastic 6-0 win. We are through, and we obviously have Premier League games to contend with. I think there is a FA Cup game and then a what they call a mini winter break, which I think is only about 10 days or so. But there's basically Premier League football every 3 days. I think there might be 1 week where there's a week gap because of Carabao Cup and Arsenal are out of that. So, yeah, basically league games, possibly seven, possibly six. I think it might actually be 7 games before the FA Cup. And I'm not entirely sure. I must still go review that when that little mini break is for the Premier League, their first break in 2 seasons where they have a little break. So, Arsenal really looking good, top of both leagues. Let's hope we continue by beating Wolves on Sunday. Up the Gunners.